Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Draft FPL and we are back with a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Game week 10 is here. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, check out the Patreon down below. As always, this series is powered by Draft FC, who provide all the data for the picks. We look first at Mark Karella, who is available in 66% of Draft FPL leagues. The fixtures are pretty tough for Chelsea coming up, especially after this week. From game week 11 to game week 13, Tottenham away, City at home, Newcastle away is a very tricky 3-game spell. But they do have Brentford at home this week, which is quite a good fixture. Chelsea's defensive numbers have been good. If you're a Patreon member, you'll see from my game week cheat sheet that they're one of the top 3 defences in the league quite easily. So I think a clean sheet this week is a pretty decent shout. I think they're third in sort of the bookies odds rankings of clean sheets this week. And the top 2, I believe, are Villa and Arsenal, both of whom don't have many options available on the waivers. So Karella, I think, is a pretty good pickup, quite widely available. Ben Chilwell's obviously out for a reasonable amount of time. Colwill has played at left back a little bit, but I think it seems like Karella is favoured at the moment, with Colwill going to left centre back. Next up, we have Joel Veltman of Brighton, available in 75% of leagues. Brighton's backline has been very, very difficult to pick this season. Other than Lewis Dunk, who would be definitely my first choice in this backline if he's available, it's very tricky to figure out who's going to play, especially now with Stupinan injured. So Veltman, I think, is probably going to start this week. It does very much depend on the Europa League lineup on Thursday evening, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye out on that, and I may well change my mind on whether I think Veltman's going to play or not, depending on how that game goes. If he plays 90 minutes in the Europa League, I think it's probably less likely that he plays at the weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. He played 45 minutes against City. James Milner started at fullback, but did not get on very well against Doku, so Veltman came on for him at half-time. I think Veltman is more than likely going to play. There are a couple of other options that you could look at. Van Heck and Igor and Lamptey are the 3. Lamptey's fitness is a bit of a concern. If Lamptey doesn't play in the Europa League, but he is not injured, then I think he is the one that I would go for. If that's not the case, then Veltman, I think, is a better shout. The problem is the waivers run Thursday evening before the end of the Brighton game, so we won't have all the information by the time the waivers run. So it might be that you have to gamble on one and then maybe shuffle it around in the free agents market if that's how it goes. If you can pick the right one, the fixtures are amazing for Brighton. Fulham at home, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Forest away in the next 4. Doesn't really get much better than that over the next 4. So Brighton are top of the fixture ticker at the moment. You can see the full fixture ticker in my game week cheat sheet, as I mentioned earlier. So I do think if you can pick up a defender, it's a good shout. The defence hasn't been very good this season. I don't actually think they've kept a clean sheet at all yet. But with this great run of fixtures, I would expect at least 1 or 2 over this period. Next up, Simas. I know I tipped him last week, but he is still available in 47% of leagues, so I thought I'd just go in and reconfirm that I still think he's a very good pick. Off after 62 minutes against Everton, so those of us that went for him just about got away with it with the clean sheet points. I do think that's much more to do with the game state than it was with his performance. I think Klopp just wanted to get another attacker on the pitch, so they took Simas off, shifted to a back 3 and got another attacker on. It does make sense in the way the game was going, but I'm not too concerned about his minutes. I think he's definitely going to be first choice left back. I know Klopp said there are some other options, like Gomez can definitely play there as well, but I think he'll be utilised more in the Europa League. We can obviously again see the Europa League lineup. If Simas does play 90 minutes, I still think I'd play him at the weekend. I don't think he's going to be benched, but it would make me a little bit more wary. If he doesn't play in the Europa League, then brilliant. The fixtures for Liverpool are really good. As I said, Forest at home, Luton away, Brentford at home the next 3. Then it's City. Then they've got another little good run as well after that. So Robertson doesn't look like he's going to be back until probably nearly the end of the year. It's a shame for his owners because he's going to miss the great run, but it's great for people that can pick up Simas. On to midfielders, and my favourite pick this week, and the midfielder that I will be backing heavily, is a Dingra of Brighton. He's looked really, really good when he's come on. He's only played a reduced number of minutes so far, but Solly March has picked up a potentially season-ending injury. Unconfirmed at the moment. We're waiting on results, I think, from scans, but it looks like he could be out for a significant amount of time. And there's not too many options in wide areas at the moment. They're struggling a little bit. I think Dingra is going to play a decent amount of minutes. He's looked really good, as I said, so I don't think there's much doubt with De Zerbi that he can definitely fulfill the role that he wants him to. So I do think he's going to be first choice. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play all the minutes in the Premier League, because they do have Europa League, as I said, on Thursday. If Dingra plays 90 minutes, then I'd be a little bit worried about the weekend. If he comes off after an hour or he doesn't start, then I'd be more than happy to start him this weekend and going forward. There's no Europa League next week midweek, and I think off the top of my head Brighton are out of the Carabao Cup. I'm not 100% sure on that, so he should be good for that Everton away fixture in game week 11. As I said, I think he's going to be first choice on the right, and I think he's a really, really good pickup. His data's really good despite his reduced minutes, so I think with a decent amount of minutes and one less person to compete with on that right hand side, he's going to do really well. Next up, Cole Palmer. Again, I did tip him, I think, either last week or the week before. It is now 100% confirmed he's on penalties. Took the ball off Raheem Sterling, who was being his usual self, trying to take the glory. But Palmer, we had it confirmed he's definitely on penalties. Took it, scored it. Still available in 50% of leagues. It looks like he's first choice in the front three of a decent side, plus on penalties. The fixtures are really bad after game week 10, but it's only for about 3 or 4 game weeks, and then it does get better again. And to be honest, I think he's just a hold either way. I wouldn't be too concerned about the fixtures. When you've got a mix of his talent, plus the pens, plus a team that seems to be on an upward trajectory, I think it's a worthy hold. Next up, we have Nicolo Zaniolo of Villa, available in 96% of leagues. I tipped McGinn last week and he did return, and I said in that video that there's some doubts over Zaniolo. Well, they seem to have gone now. It looks like he's probably going to avoid any kind of ban or sanction. There was some reports he was mixed up in a betting sort of thing, but it doesn't look like that's going to affect him now. I think he's first choice on the left hand side, available in 96% of leagues, and the next 3 fixtures are fantastic. Luton at home, Forest away, Fulham at home. There is the only problem with Zaniolo, and the reason why I rank him lower than the likes of McGinn, Diaby, etc., is Leon Bailey is fit and will likely take some minutes off him on that left hand side. Not necessarily from the start, but even if Zaniolo does start, he will likely come off around 60-70 minutes for Leon Bailey. But with those 3 fixtures and how good they are, I'm more than happy to take the risk on him and hope that he can get some attacking returns, because I think Villa are going to score a lot of goals in these next 3 weeks. Final midfielder for me today is Dwight McNeil, available in 97% of draft leagues. And the fixtures are not great for Everton for quite a while, but in this game week, specifically game week 10, I actually fancy them to get a goal or 2 away to West Ham. West Ham have done pretty well so far, but they have been leaky, and the defensive data is terrible. They're like the 3rd worst ranked defence in the league so far this season, West Ham. So I think Everton could find some joy here, especially from set pieces. I like McNeil for that, and attacking from wide spaces. He is my probably second choice from the midfielders on this team. I think Abdoulaye Doucouré, with how far forward he's playing, is still definitely a better pick, but he is much less widely available. So I think McNeil kind of is the next best option. Harrison is also a decent pick as well. I think he's going to start on the other side. But as I said, I think I favour McNeil slightly. The data is slightly better for him, but I don't think Harrison is a bad option either. After this game week, I probably would drop. I mean, there's an argument you could keep them for Brighton at home, because Brighton's defence hasn't been great, and it is a home game at Goodison Park. So you could keep for the next 2, definitely for this week. And then after that, you'd probably drop. Palace away is quite tricky. Then it's United, and then they've got a really tough run after that as well, I believe. So it is probably just a short-term option, but not a bad one in my opinion. Finally then, the only forward this week, I'm struggling with the forwards at the moment massively, is Neil Maupay. The fixtures for Brentford are awful. This week, you could argue it isn't quite so bad. Chelsea's home record has been really poor, although they did look better against Arsenal, but they still found a way to drop points. I would say that on paper and looking at the data, Chelsea have a good chance at a clean sheet this week, but just from a narrative point of view, we know what they've been like at home for the last 18 months. So could Brentford get a goal or two? They absolutely could. Neil Maupay is playing through the middle. I think he looks like a good pick, to be honest. I'm not his biggest fan, I'll just say that. He's never done well for me in fantasy. I don't particularly like him, the way he handles himself in the game at all, to be honest. But if you're holding someone that's not going to play, someone like Beto or something like that, then I probably think Maupay is just someone you can pick up, put first on your bench. Hopefully you don't need him, but if you do, he's not a bad option to come off. And that wraps up my picks for Game Week 10. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, check out the Patreon down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.